Here at the BQN Network, we support and express solidarity for all of the writers and actors that have brought us the stories we passionately speak about. We continue to show love to all that are fighting the good fight for the WGA, SAG-AFTRA, and any upcoming strikes. We stand with you. You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode will gather perhaps a cocktail in hand to discuss it all. I'm your host, Matt Jennings, and with me today are Laz Marquez, Shalimar, and Mark. What's up?
Hey Matt.
Guys. What up?
It's not Cinema Z if we don't have our cocktails. So, what are we drinking, everyone?
Well, keeping with the theme of, the ranch hands out west, lassoed myself a whiskey sour.
Okay.
My very first whiskey sour, actually. I've never made it before. It's not
Oh,
bad.
interesting.
Pretty good.
Yeah, listeners, it's like this very interesting. It looks like a greenish color.
The bottle's blue,
Oh, okay. Well,
and there's yellow liquid in it.
Color theory. That sounds delicious. I'm a little jealous. Usually I do whiskey, but this time around I am drinking a giant mason jar of water. So, at least it's big.
right. In theme.
That's what I say about Andy. Anyway,
Oh my word.
Listeners, we are off to a great start today. So, Laz, what do you have?
So, for the horror fans out there, I am being, as usual, the sober sister Cece Cooper, who is portrayed by Sarah Michelle Gellar in Scream 2. So I am drinking water. That way I could help my sisters out just in case they get too drunk.
Iconic.
Laz is actually recording this podcast in the nude this week. So
I am. Yes. Also, like with a Sarah Michelle Gellar wig on. Just
I love it.
For posterity.
I love it. I love all of it. Listeners, I don't know, maybe this drink is on theme. As you know, I usually make my stop at the 7-Eleven or the gas station and I get my trashy wine cooler. So today I have a lovely Jack Daniel's Down Home Punch in a can.
Very on brand.
Wow.
Love
This is
it.
it is very on
Sounds
brand.
good. What does it taste like?
I don't know yet. See, the thing is, I thought that I brought a straw on before we started recording because I'm afraid to just drink it straight from the can. And now I don't know where the straw is, and I'm afraid to open this and to start drinking it.
Well, you got to start now.
I know. I'm just gonna. All right, listeners, here we go. I'm just gonna take a risk, take
Do
a
it.
Let's hear it.
chance, make a change, and break away.
Live
Points
your
if
life.
you get that song reference. So,
You can't
Thank you.
open it.
my mother lovingly brought me a straw in.
Aw.
Oh, mom for the win.
Thanks,
Parents for the
Mom.
win. Mom for the win.
Matt, you're so mask.
Okay. Oh my God, it's good. It's very good.
Ooh.
So, moving on, listeners, we are going to review Nope. Nope was written and directed by and produced by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya
Hallelujah.
and Keke Palmer, who both play horse wrangling siblings trying to capture evidence of a UFO above their California ranch. So I'm gonna kick this off with the first question: Why did we want to watch this one? What was the motivation behind it?
For me, I was curious about it. I'd seen the trailer, and I mentioned to Laz and Shalimar beforehand that to me the trailer confused me. I wasn't sure what was happening or what kind of film it was going to be. And I think that's why I didn't immediately go for it to watch it. I really enjoyed Get Out, and so I was curious, but then I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't know. It looked action heavy and it looked abstract, and I just thought, I was like, I don't know if I get really what's happening with this.
Mhm.
And I actually on first viewing was relieved that it wasn't really those things. I felt like the storytelling made sense to me. It wasn't like as abstract as I was expecting, and I followed it well. I feel like it wasn't as action heavy as I was expecting. There was action, but there was so much space, which our listeners are now realizing that I really appreciate about films. I like the space to breathe, to be with the characters, to hang out with, to get to know them before they get terrified. So it had that in this film, and really good dialogue. The dialogue made this film. It brought in some light elements, some reality. It grounded it some reality. So my first viewing, I was blown away and glad that my initial impressions by the bad trailer were not met. It was actually it was better. It was much better than I was expecting. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
That's awesome. I'd love to go next. So what's funny about this movie is that I hadn't seen any of Peele's other movies yet. So this was my first entry into his cinematic universe, and I feel really guilty about that, especially having been a big fan of Key and Peele back in the day. I was just talking about this with Laz before, that I've seen almost every episode of that show, and I hadn't gotten around to see his movies, mainly because I don't necessarily gravitate towards horror. Not that I dislike it, but it's just not the thing that puts my butt in the seat at the movie theater. Yeah. That being said, I think to Mark's point, the trailer was very confusing. And having seen the movie now, I don't know what kind of trailer you could possibly put together for this movie, because even though it's
that's a good point.
The storytelling is relatively linear and clear, for the most part, it's still very abstract and absurd and kind of like this Dadaist horror movie. Like it was not what I was expecting. I'll just say that.
I haven't heard Dada in such a long time. I'm so glad that you said Dada.
I love Dada, because then I get to say Dada.
Who doesn't like to say Dada?
Yeah. I mean, weird people.
I think jumping off of that, it's, as the horror aficionado of this podcast, this film to me, and most of Jordan Peele's work, is a lot deeper than horror. It leans very into like the Twilight Zone quality of things, where it's a little more science fiction than horror, but the real horrors are kind of the metaphors of human interactions, which I think we'll get into. But that was what intrigued me. I've seen all of his films. I loved Get Out. I loved Us. And this one, we'll see how I felt about that.
I think for me, this was on my list to see when it came out last year. I wanted to go see it in the theater because I wanted to support him. I wanted to support a genre of film that people of color are still kind of branching into. And shame on me, I did not make it to the movie theater to see this movie. So when we started to progress into our Halloween themed portion of Cinema Z viewings, I just thought this is the perfect opportunity. Initially, upon watching it, the first watch, there was a little bit of frustration because it was so quiet. There were so many moments that were kind of just left open to breathe, and there were metaphors in there, and I was trying to tie everything together. And I think at the end of the movie, it all kind of came together. But initially, the frustration was on my part that I wasn't bringing it together, and I knew it was there. And so I think the thing is with Jordan Peele's work is you are going to learn some history. There's going to be metaphor, and it's all going to be sprinkled throughout the film. And you can't just watch it once to get it. You really have to give this 2-3 watches to at least begin to tie the pieces together. At least for me, that's how it was.
I completely agree. I think all of his films deserve like multiple watches, but the metaphors require us to think more about our culture, about others, about what those horrors could be, and how we overcome them.
From my impression, it was very layered, like very layered metaphors.
Oh my
It's like a
God.
metaphor on top of a facsimile on top of a, like it's
Yeah.
just, there's a lot going on. And yeah, definitely need a few watches to peel that onion back to get to the core of what it's about.
Absolutely. But
Annihilation was like that too.
wait, what was that?
Annihilation was
Oh
similar.
yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
takes multiple watches to sort of wrap your head around, and this is another one. Head
And
scratcher.
for our viewers, all of us, I think this is our first watch, right?
Yes.
Like the
Yeah.
first film that all of us have never seen this before.
It's true.
So, listeners, you're experiencing this, and we're experiencing this with us for the first time as well. So, moving on, I think this is a great jumping off point. Is just talking about letting moments live and breathe. That this film does a really good job with, I think, a minimalist style of storytelling in terms of the horror in the film. It kind of the way that it's shot, the way that it was written, it really makes you fill in the blanks as a viewer. Like you don't see a big ugly monster for the majority of the film. You don't see a big ugly monster. You don't see a lot of gore. You don't see a monster with like 10 eyes and 10 legs. You kind of see the after effects of the horror, if that makes any sense. You see what happens afterwards, and your mind is kind of left to fill in the blanks of, well, what happened? What's going on? How were these people being killed? What is this flying saucer? At first, you think it's a flying saucer, and I'll get to what I thought was really clever about that as well. But I love how this movie made you fill in the blanks. So was there anything that stood out to you guys in that vein?
I got to say the sound engineering.
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
my God.
The sound. So a couple of things. The sounds of the random things falling from the sky, like the pennies and the keys and whatnot. So just the sounds, right? So that had me. And like there wasn't dialogue at that point. You were just listening as the viewer of the movie, listening to the stuff fall and hit the roof of the house and whatnot. And then another part was the storm and the rainstorm, the torrential downpour, and you're hearing the sound of the rain hitting the truck. And there was this beauty to the not only the sound, but the convergence, I guess, of the sound and the cinematography, where you're seeing blood drip down the windows as well. And it was done in
Oh,
this beautiful sort of poetic way where, yes, it was gore, but it was hauntingly beautiful as well.
it was.
Eh,
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. The movie
Yeah.
had a lot of moments like that for me that stood out where it was both terrifying and grotesque, but also there was beauty to it. Listeners, you got to watch the movie to understand, but it's a
Well,
beautiful.
it's beautifully shot. It's almost like a
mhm.
Western. You've got like the super wide camera, and you've got these beautiful vistas, and it's just very well shot and very fantastic visual storytelling and like juxtaposition of things. For instance, there's a scene where they're trying to lure the UFO, and they use these little wacky waving inflatable tube men, and
Yeah.
it just cuts to that, and it's
Yeah.
not even, it just makes you laugh but also think, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And it's this field, this endless hills, sunlit hills with all these tube men in different colors, and it's just such a juxtaposition of these tube men and this vista that is out of a Western. But I wanted to jump back to what you were saying, Mark, about the audio, because there was another audio aspect that kind of blew my mind, and it was the sound of the wind, that you would hear howling, but it was not
Yeah.
really just the wind, it was the screams
Mhm.
of what was going on up there with that quote unquote UFO. And I was actually doing a little bit of research into the sound of how they made that. And it was a mix of, they'd have people scream as if they were on a roller coaster, and then they'd have them scream as if they were being like stabbed to death. And then they layered those two sounds together, and that's how they got that sound, which is fascinating to me, because when you hear it, it is kind of like a roller coaster, but then there's this undertone of like terror and fear that is just so brilliant in terms of storytelling with sound. And in regards to like my first impression of this movie with the sort of minimalist style of storytelling, and I don't know if I'm off point here, but it just reminded me of like an M. Night Shyamalan parody. Now, I know that's not what he was going for, but that's what popped into my mind. So that is kind of some of the standout things for me.
I think, that the scream, again, like with that going in the minimalist vein of the discussion here, the screams were also not so over the top and like blood curdling. Like what you hear a faint noise, and sometimes there's something scary about just a faint hint of something. It jogs your imagination, and there are moments where the characters are like, do you hear that? Do you hear something?
Yep.
And
yeah, because it blends with the wind so perfectly.
It was masterfully done and incredibly effective.
I think there's something interesting to be said as well. Like in our last episode, viewers definitely watch or listen to our Annihilation episode. The screams utilized in different ways, right? So in this film, it's with the wind, it's with, certain, context. In Annihilation, you hear screams in a very different way through an animal sound. So like subtlety in horror is incredible.
It really is. And it's also like, this is slightly off point, but I do have to say, listeners, it's very interesting that I think without really consciously making the choice, each of us has picked a film that is kind of in the same vein and in the same style.
What I will say about this is, kind of jumping off of Shalimar's point, the cinematography is incredible in this film. And something when I was doing my research that I had no idea about was Hait van Hoytema. I'm butchering that name, is the cinematographer, but he is the go-to for Christopher Nolan. So he's done like a bunch, including Interstellar, Tenet, Dunkirk. So like the visual style is very much influenced, I think.
Wow.
Through that lens.
Makes sense. Now that you say that, I'm like,
yeah, I could
see that. Yeah.
Did he do Oppenheimer as well?
I would have to look, but I don't know. Not that I see.
Okay.
But he did like films like Her. Like he's a very accomplished visual, artist. So, I think
that's
that
awesome.
adds a lot to this film.
Definitely.
The next thing that I want to talk about, which I think is really interesting, this film, it challenges the norm of cinema and horror. For one, obviously, there's the diversity in the casting. We have Black people on horseback in a Western, which we still don't see a whole lot. Emerald's character is in the 90s. In a film like this in the 90s, I think she would have just been the comic relief, and that would have been it. However, Emerald's, her fire, her passion,
it's like a drive of sorts. Like she's driven by things that is part of the family lineage.
Yes. And there's something about her, to me, she thinks on her feet as well. And there's something about that really, I guess, helps to drive the objective of what they're trying to do. And I think it helps get Daniel's character to achieve some of the goals that I don't think would have been able to achieve on his own had Emerald not been there to say, let's do this. Have you thought about this? Let's do that. Let's try that. We're going to go to Fry's. Let's get that Oprah shot. Going along with that, are there any archetypes in horror that you would like to see flip or change that you feel like you haven't seen yet? Just going off of what we saw in this movie.
Listen, most genres of films, throughout all of cinema, are like, here's white people doing this. Here's white people doing this. Not only just white people, but here's straight cisgendered white people doing this, right? So we're at the phase in society and Hollywood where that's just not only just not even cool, but like boring, right? I don't even want to see it at this point. I loved the fact, one of my thoughts about this film was when I was watching it, and it was the black people on horseback, and then they went to the Asian guy that was, he was in
Yes.
charge of the rodeo, right?
Yes.
And my thought was not that this shouldn't happen, but the thought in my head was, this is fucking America, right? This is fucking America. This is fucking America. This is where we live. Because I know a ton of Asian people from Texas, which is odd. A friend of mine out when I lived in Seattle was from Texas, and he was an Asian gentleman, and he made the meanest chili I've ever had. And it's like, yes, they live there too. It's not just white people, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just Latino people living there. Asian people live there. Black people live there. Everybody lives there. Indian people live there, right? So I like that we're seeing that now. But I would also love to see in like sci-fi films, in horror films, in comedies, more of the LGBT representation, and not done in a comedic way, but just doing it straight, because it's usually a comedy. Like I've seen it in rom-com in the last few years, but I haven't seen it just done straight. And so I'd like to see just some gay people in a movie. They happen to be gay, but that's not the point of the film at all.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Something I'll say on that is, we haven't covered this, but I would recommend everyone to watch The Blackening, which is kind of a like parody / horror
Yes.
discovery of a film. And a couple of the characters are very fluid, let's say. And one of them happens to be, LGBTQ like positive. So I think that we're getting there. And, one of the rules, again, I'm the horror nerd, in horror films is like the gay person doesn't die. So
Wait, is that a
let's keep
rule?
up.
Really?
Yeah, Scream 4.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Scream 4 lists that as a rule. So I take it as
Interesting.
canon for life.
Okay.
Outside of that, the only other thing I would say in terms of like flipping the script, given that The Exorcist Believer, which is not rated very well on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment for the audience, it's like 23% or 28% at this point, I would like to see the script change there, where like the kid is the person in charge versus the parent. Always see like, kind of like the adult person having to cater to a child being possessed or whatnot.
Right.
No matter the ethnicity or the gender or whatnot, seeing that switched up could be kind of cool.
Definitely. I think the horror genre is one of those places where archetypes are constantly being flipped. Now, I'm not really super versed in the genre, so I could be completely off base, but it seems like a very experimental landscape. And I'd love to see more of that. And also tied to what Laz was just saying about quality filmmaking, to bring in a wider audience. Because this movie to me didn't really feel like a horror movie. It felt more like a suspense. I felt more terror than horror. Like, I think the only thing that really horrified me was maybe the chimp scene, where I was like, oh, that was actually hard to watch. And I've read so many horrible animal stories about when chimps go bad, how, they rip off your face and your fingers, and it's just a terrible thing. That's the only time I felt true horror. I think for the rest, I felt more of like an existential dread and kind of just that suspense, almost like Jaws. Because to your point earlier about you don't ever really see the monster till towards the end of the movie. And I think that to me was kind of how I felt about that movie, that it didn't really land in the horror genre in my mind, traditionally speaking.
Right.
And I think that's great, because I do love the notion of horror being mixed with other genres. In this case, horror and perhaps a little sci-fi, perhaps a little comedy, but it still was a very serious film. And also definitely love the sort of flipping of the races. Like you said earlier, you'd expect it to be white people running that ranch, and
Right,
perhaps not the Asian cowboy. And, but I think that makes it more interesting. It makes it more layered. It makes you wonder, how did these characters get here? And there was this
Yes.
really great quote from Peele himself when he's responding to a question about how Nope incorporates commentary about race into its plot. And then he said, I think it's impossible to make any movie without it being about race, because race is all around us.
Mm.
You can't have Black people in a flying saucer film and just have it be the same experience, because it's not. And I thought that was a really astute way of that. Like, it totally made sense for me for the film, because it was layered with all these symbolisms and sort of nuances around exploitation, but it still kind of was about the flying saucer. Like, it wasn't really, banging you over the head with rhetoric or evangelism or anything like that, or like trying to put people in their place. Like, you need to be paying attention to this. It's like, no, this is a movie about a flying saucer, and the characters just happen to be living in this world. And I like that.
And again, I want to reiterate that even though we're doing spooky season and like we're talking about quote unquote horror, it exists around us every day. I think this film really, or Jordan Peele in general, really kind of narrows in on that in that kind of Twilight Zone-y way.
Yes.
Where it's not about the jump scares. Like, horror is not about jump scares or ghosts or things like that. It could exist anywhere. It could be thrilling. It could be terrifying. It could be like just sitting there in your everyday life. So I think that's a really important thing to hit home for any like anti-horror folks.
I would absolutely agree with that. And I think that is a perfect jumping point for the next question that I have here. In the last couple of years, I've noticed that there have been a lot of TV shows or movies that have come out linking like Black trauma and the experience, the Black experience in America, and horror, the horror genre together. Films like Get Out. I think Bad Hair. I haven't seen Bad Hair, but I think Bad Hair does it as well. There's a TV show that came out called The Other Black Girl, Antebellum, Kindred, The Blackening, which we also mentioned. They all kind of have that horror element, yes, but there's also this constant awareness of the Black trauma, and they kind of go together in unison.
Lovecraft Country.
Oh my God. Yeah. Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's another one, right?
Can we talk about how hot Jonathan Majors was in that? Okay. And I'm done.
And there is no disputing that at all. And so, we have the scene in Nope with Gordy, attacking the cast, snapping and attacking the cast. And there's a thought, and it jogs your mind as a person of color, the exploitation of people of color, how people of color are seen, and how that exploitation can end in eruption, in revolt. I mean, that chimpanzee, did that chimpanzee kill like almost all of the cast? Is that what happened? I think one person survived. Well, I mean, two people survived.
The woman survived.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting and sort of what stuck with me about it wasn't that aspect, which, if you've seen YouTube, you've seen the, chimpanzees go nutty, but it was, and I kind of saw this coming a little bit, but I wasn't mad about it, was the scene between the chimpanzee, is it Gordy, and the little Asian boy.
Yeah. I
kind of thought they was going to go to that, and I didn't, I guess, know until it happened how touching it would be. That they had this bonding moment where the chimpanzee went over to the kid and he's like, "Me too, man. Me too." And they did the fist bump because he was like, the little kid was being paraded around and showed off by these other people and exploited as well for, just being a cute young kid, and his parents probably shuffling from this thing to that thing or whatever. And everybody's trying to like make money off this young kid. And the chimp came over and was just like, yeah, man, me too. And the chimp gave him a fist bump, and that's when it ended for him. But before it ended for him, it was this spiritual connection between the two beings. And I thought it was really touching and sweet before his brains got blown out.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting about that whole thing is that that kid grows up to, what was Steve Yeun's character again? Was it Randy? What was his name? I can't remember his character's name. Anyway, he grows up to sort of do the same thing that they were doing to him and that they were doing to the chimp by exploiting these horses, these animals, to be fed as bait to this creature in the sky. That if our listeners haven't seen this movie, we've been so like coded with the language about what's in the sky so far, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this movie about? But you know, it kind of is interesting that he ends up doing the same thing that was done to him. And there's a moment where they're asking him to like say, hey, what really happened on set? And instead of explaining what happened on set with the chimp, he tells it through a retelling that was done by SNL. And I couldn't stop laughing when he was talking about what a great impression of a monkey Chris Kattan did.
Oh, but it's so true. Nobody can monkey like Chris Kattan.
It's so true.
But it's also interesting, Shalimar, going off of that as well, because there's a deflection with that storytelling, right? And not only does he go into the SNL sketch, he takes them into this exhibit.
Yeah. He's exploiting the horror of the incident. It's, you know, it really, the whole movie, I mean, is kind of about that in one way or the other. Even our main characters, our heroes, OJ and Emerald, which, by the way, when I was watching the movie, I kept thinking her name was Emerald, like Emerald Lagasse, because the sound on my speaker, I guess, wasn't great. And then when I was reading this, I'm like, oh shit, her name is Emerald. Okay, that makes more sense. Anyways, even, you know, Daniel's character is trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to survive, trying to wrangle this creature similar to how he wrangles horses, but he cares about the horses. He's not trying to do what he's doing. But then Keke Palmer's character is, I mean, first of all, she's a character who gets shit done. Like whatever she decides to do, she just runs and does it. And
she does.
I love her energy and I love her performance.
Me too.
She could go from like hilarious and loud and in your face to just like layered in depth. And when she's watching the screens go in and out, it was just so captivating to me. So she was definitely.
Yeah, but there's something about that character that, like, I think you're gonna get there, but she's exploiting her.
Yeah, she's trying to get the Oprah shot of the alien,
and she,
you know, and
even calling it the Oprah shot, calling it the Oprah shot as well is.
I mean, I relate to it more as calling it the Oprah shot versus having called it anything else. Like, oh, get the shot, the money shot, none of that. The minute she said the Oprah shot, I knew exactly what she was going for.
Because like the entire film is like riddled with, you were saying, Shal, I think earlier, it's metaphor on top of metaphor. Yeah. So it's like the animals are just as exploited as I think the Black culture has been exploited in the past.
Yeah.
And Matt, like, feel free to jump in here because it's not my place.
Yeah.
But I really, truly feel like that's the message. It's like all of these folks are really, you know, like outside of OJ, which I think is an interesting choice as well.
Yeah.
And he's tending to like the animals. He's relating to them. But everyone else is like really kind of looking out for themselves a little bit. Rightfully so sometimes, and like woefully awful sometimes.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, when we talk about just the exploitation of Black people or Black culture in America, it goes through so many avenues, right? We see it in our music. I remember watching Miley Cyrus try to like pop her booty for the first time on stage, like I don't know how many years ago that was. And I remember after that performance, people started to call it twerking. People started to say it was twerking, or maybe twerking just blew up. Whereas in like hip hop and R&B, like that has been a thing in the Black community for a long time, but all of a sudden Miley Cyrus does it and it blows up. But, you know, the same thing can be said for Billy Porter and Harry Styles in regards to fashion and bending the gender norms or whatever it is of fashion. And Harry Styles is kind of celebrated as this pioneer and whatever for doing this. But Billy Porter has been doing that for a long time. But here comes Harry Styles, this attractive white man who is doing this, and all of a sudden he is getting amplified. But Billy Porter did it first, or has been doing it before. So it's just the exploitation continues. And I think with Jordan Peele, I know that he had also said in an interview that part of the reason I guess this movie came about, or the theme of exploitation came about, was with some of his frustration with Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
So it's so prevalent.
And the way that these characters handle that differently. Casting Stephen Yeun as the cowboy character is intentional. We're not looking at him as the white man.
Right.
At him as one of us in a weird way, you know, culturally different. So like seeing that and seeing how different people handle different circumstances within the context of exploitation is like super fascinating.
It's almost like the system exploits you, but then you ultimately end up exploiting yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. And this is the system we live in. And it's very, very layered. Again, it just goes into that. Layered. And it's so deep that you could unpack it for days.
And one of us said something about survival, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, survival. And it kind of comes down to survival as well. And you're kind of pushed to that place. And that leads me into my next question here, or the second part of this question. Do we think overall there is a link between horror and the experience of marginalized communities in America?
Oh gosh, for sure. I think, you know, horror, like I was saying before, really exists in our everyday experiences. You know, some people decide to either face it or run away from it. Just like in a horror film, right? You know, it's
right.
You know, run out the door or up the stairs. So I think that what's brilliant about Jordan Peele's work is that it's really about facing those fears, or having the audience face those fears. Like they're not, you know, like low budget indie films. They are, you know, mid-budget films that people are really interested in. So I think the fact that he has brought audiences to see what the Black experience is within the metaphor of sci-fi or horror is super important, because, you know, even as a Latino, you know, like I don't have that yet, but seeing what Jordan Peele has done is like so incredible. Like it, honestly, like I'm on the verge of tears, because I think what he's doing is monumental.
It
and
really,
I hope that continues.
I totally agree with you. It is, Shalimar, you said something about it as well, as horror kind of being a vehicle to blend genres and you know, meld things together. And I think, you know, what Jordan Peele is doing with that is he's finding an in and an access point to establish dialogue about things that we still don't want to discuss in this country in regards to race. And he's doing it through entertainment, and he's doing it very well. So we're going to move on to the director's cut segment.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
We're going to redo or reenact some of our favorite scenes from the film. I'm going to kick it off with the first scene. It's I think one of my favorite moments. It's Emerald's introductory scene. She's running late to the commercial set, and she pops in to give the speech, the safety speech, before they start filming with the horse.
Which it was so uncomfortable. He does not want a public speak.
Oh yeah. He's so uncomfortable, but his little bits, his little moments are comedic
Oh,
gold.
priceless. Yeah.
It's
love it.
so good. I'm gonna cast myself as Emerald because I really want to be Emerald.
I'll do both. It's like a one-liner.
I'll be OJ.
All right.
Action.
Hey, yo. Oh, excuse me. I'm coming through. Yo, thank you. Sorry.
Safety meeting.
Yeah. Hello. Sorry for the tardiness. My name is Emerald. That's OJ. And we are your animal wranglers today with the Haywood Hollywood horses. Now, did you know that the very first assembly of photographs in sequential order to create a motion picture was a 2-second clip of a black man on a horse? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Now, some of y'all know Edward Muybridge, the grandfather of motion pictures, who took the pictures that made the clip. But does anybody know the name of that black jockey that rode the horse?
Nope.
Nope. The first ever stuntman, animal wrangler, and movie star rolled up in one, and there's almost no record of him. That man was a Bohemian jockey that went by the name of Alistair E. Haywood, my great-great-grandfather.
Great.
There goes another great-grandfather. But that's why up over at Haywood Ranch, as the only black-owned horse trainers in Hollywood, we would like to say, since the moment pictures could move, we've had skin in the game. Let's discuss some of the safety precautions while we're on set, shall we? 1, please refrain from loud noises, sudden movements, and keep your cell phone ringers off. That'd be appreciated. 2, if you see something that looks unsafe for anyone, please alert myself, OJ, or your next in chain of command. And 3, let's have a great shoot. And I'm Emerald Haywood. Also, I act, write, direct, internet, fashion, VFX, motorcycles, baby. And I make grilled cheese. I make a mean grilled cheese. If you're looking for crafty, I'll be over there.
Cut.
That was amazing.
That was great.
I love that. Can everyone hire Matthew Jennings for anything?
Definitely.
That was
I'd hire
so
you.
good. One of the things I love about this scene too is we had talked earlier about the name of the character as OJ. How uncomfortable was that white lady when he said his name was OJ?
Oh,
She just,
my God.
ooh, that look.
It was, I gotta say this. I mean, I was gonna save this for the stand-ups, but I gotta say that there was a very accurate tone that was mastered in terms of the set and the attitude of like some of the staff and the crew working on set. And I'm not bashing anybody that is working behind the camera. There are happy sets, and then there are toxic sets, and that's just a reality. And sometimes you get on a toxic set and these people can be short, they can be nasty. I mean, there was one moment where OJ was he was tending to the horse. There was something that he was told to do with the horse. And so I guess I want to say the assistant director or the second director came in and said, I need you to do this. And so OJ said, oh, I thought you wanted me to do this. And so the guy said, yeah, now I'm telling you to do this. And it was the short, cutting, rude interaction, which unfortunately is part of the on-set culture, and that needs to change. That's my little TED talk.
Well, I have picked a scene here that just amused me. The character of Angel, the Fry's electronic guy, I found him to be kind of comic relief for this movie, but also as somebody that's worked in, tech industry for a while, like I know plenty of people with that mentality. And I don't know, I enjoyed it for its levity. So I picked the scene where he's coming to help set up the security cameras, and he already is a little bit suspect anyway, and I think he has a little bit of an idea what they're doing, and it just gets more apparent throughout the conversation. So I want to be Angel, but also OJ is here and Emerald, so those spots are available, whoever wants to take them.
Well, I could do OJ again because I kind of want to hear Matt do Emerald again. So. A little selfish of me, but that's what I want.
Right.
Action.
Damn, I didn't realize you were this far out.
Mm.
I don't mind, though. I smell of horse shit and fresh air. Woohoo!
Whoa, don't do that. Don't yell like that.
Sorry. And sorry if I was a little down this morning.
You were fine.
I just got out of a 4-year relationship. Yeah, I know it's fucking cliche, but I thought she was the one, you know?
Is this going to take longer than an hour?
This? Yes.
I'm going to pop out.
Where you going?
To the store. I'll be back. You need something?
Anyway, her name is Rebecca Diaz. She's an actress, model. Look out for her. She just booked a pilot on the CW. Fucking left me. Fucking CW.
Can you swivel up
Yeah.
a little more?
Okay, yeah. Did you know they're not even called UFOs anymore? They're UAPs now.
Why they got to change the name?
Exactly. I'll tell you why. To put people back in the dark. You know how I know? It happened as soon as those Navy videos became declassified. Just when people's eyes were about to open, they start calling them UAPs. And all of a sudden, nobody gives a shit again. It's because nobody knows what the fuck in a UAP is.
I saw that. The Navy clip? Couldn't see too much on him, though. Could have been better.
It's this shitty footage of exact proof that there's an alien civilization out there in the universe.
So who's that?
Come on, man. The little guys with the big eyes. They're either intergalactic travelers looking for peace, or they're evolved futuristic humans coming back in time to stop us from destroying the planet, or world killers, or planetary destroyers. That would mean they've been watching us, learning us, waiting for us the perfect time to beam us up and put metal probes in our asses.
Cool.
Ancient Aliens, History Channel. Check it out.
Cut.
And seed.
Very nice.
It's
Nicely
just
done.
so ridiculous. The anal probes and Ancient Alien. I was like, this is too juicy. I got to scene select this. This is perfect.
All right. So moving on with rewrites. Is there anything that anyone would rewrite about this film?
There weren't enough white people. No, just kidding. Joke. I keyed. Funny. I make a joke.
I think in general, compared to, let's say, Get Out and Us, for the listeners who have seen those films, this one had some interesting, very deep themes, but it was a little difficult to sit with, I would say, from a viewer standpoint. I think maybe it's the pacing, maybe it might be other factors. I love Steven Yeun, but I don't know that he worked in that role as much as he did perhaps on The Walking Dead as Glenn. So I would stick with that in terms of like my negative commentary. It needed maybe like a rewrite or two to get it to a certain point, but the messages came through, so I respect that.
I always feel weird saying rewriting somebody else's work, because like I wouldn't want somebody repainting something I did or redesigning something I did. But you have to have a critique, right? So I think the beginning of the movie was hard. Not the beginning where we meet the characters, but after that, between that and when things start going up, there was sort of a stretch where I was zoning out a little bit. And I wonder if it was a pacing thing, if some of the storytelling was just so nonverbal. Then you get those intercuts with the going back in time, seeing the chimp scene and all that. It was very confusing, and I think we mentioned this earlier in the movie, but it didn't kind of come together till the very end. And even then, I had to kind of watch it again to understand. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I do think it could have been maybe a little, no pun intended, alienating for certain audiences, because it's such a dense meatball, wrapped in this like yummy, crunchy crust, that it's kind of hard to get through sometimes. I think if you're not just, this isn't your genre or this isn't your director, you have to pay attention, really close attention to get something out of this movie, because I think if you zone out or you get distracted, you're absolutely not going to know what the fuck is going on.
Oh yeah, you zone out, you missed it.
Yeah.
100. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was obviously joking earlier. If I were to change anything about it, there's not much I would. I think that this movie was another one like Annihilation that sits really well with me pretty much on all fronts. listening to Shalimar talk and thinking more and processing more about the scene with the chimpanzee, I would say it kind of takes you out of the main story in a way that I still, I've seen it a couple of times now. I still don't get how it connects to the main story really. And so maybe I need another rewatch to get it, but it's a little too abstract. But with that said, those, like I said, the scene between the boy and the chimpanzee after the mauling happened,
Yeah.
I think was a great scene to watch, right? To see the two beings interact, I think was a really special moment. And I don't know if I'd want to lose that from the film, but it didn't make sense to me, but it doesn't mean I didn't like it. So we'll leave it the way that it is.
Something I wanted to add, but it didn't really like fit in during our conversation
Yeah.
is I would like highly recommend Spike Lee's Bamboozled,
Mm-hmm,
which is a film that really explores like how Black culture was exploited. And I saw it in college, not even like consciously like was looking for it, but a teacher was like, we have to watch this. And you need to write a paper on this. And it's before, any sort of cultural sensations in me were really lifted. And
Yeah.
it's really important and really connects to this film in so many ways because it's like you see how, again, America and Americans have taken Black culture, did it back then, with blackface, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and then decided to turn that into terrible circumstances in our country. I just wanted to highlight that because we are a podcast that talks about films that are underrated or indie. So I would definitely check that out.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. I think for me, I was kind of on the train with what Shalimar had said about the first hour of the film. It was the pacing that was kind of slow. There was so much space. I mean, again, I know that I had said that a lot of these moments are so open, they kind of let you breathe and you kind of have a minute to see what's going on. I'm almost afraid to take anything out of the movie because to me, it is such like a dense meatball, which, oh my God, sounds so good right now. I'm so hungry.
Me too. It is dinner time where I'm at.
It's like to take anything out, I don't want the rest of the piece to come apart. There's so many pieces to this. I don't know if I would take anything out. Maybe I would speed things up a little bit, but take anything out, I don't think so. All right. Well, moving on to standouts.
I want to just again reiterate whoever does like the background people for this, the sound engineers, highlight to them, cinematographer. Obviously, we've mentioned that he was great, but those things to me make the film and make me want to watch and rewatch. Like I love being in the film with the characters, and it's those type of things that put me in the film with the characters, and so that's what I loved about it.
Standout for sure for somebody who has to lead the charge on everything in this production, Jordan Peele, hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has to make sure all of these parts are working to bring a message to us. And I think that he continues to really, to mass audiences, bring like such content that all of America should be watching. So even if he's moving the needle a little bit, that's enough for me. So Jordan Peele, rock on.
I definitely want to echo that because this movie, I mean, there's amazing performances, Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya and really everyone, but how do I say this? The fact that it's just so layered and so dense with all this symbolism and metaphors, and there's still a cohesive, entertaining story that came out of it is really impressive because it's the details, like down to the name of OJ, to the specific history lesson that they're teaching, to that little moment on set where that guy is super rude. to the fact that it's a chimpanzee and you have Stephen Yeun, this Asian guy, as a Western in this chain of exploitation and self-destruction. There's just so much going on. It's so complicated, but it's still, to your point earlier, feels kind of like minimalist storytelling, even though it's kind of maximalist. When you unpack it, there's kind of nothing minimal about this movie. And I like that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think for me, well, this is more of a performance thing. I've seen maybe 2 films that Keke Palmer has done, and this is my third, and I'm on the Keke Palmer train now. Like I always was. Like, you know, I see her on Instagram, on TikTok, like, you know, YouTube. I see some cute little videos here and there, just funny stuff that she's done. But Keke Palmer is a fearless actor, and it was a joy to watch Emerald be fearless. It was a joy to watch Emerald take charge. It was a joy to watch her save the day. I am on the Keke Palmer train now, and
she needs to be more things. I want to see her in more. She has that quality about her. Like, she's got the range, she's got the look, got a great voice. Like when she's performing, she's giving that speech. Like, I'm engaged, I'm laughing. I'm sorry, I shouldn't keep going on, but I just wanted to echo that I loved her too, and I want to see what's next, what comes next with her.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to trivia.
Keke Palmer's introductory scene, in which Emerald delivers an energetic and fast-talking monologue about her family history during a safety meeting on the set of a film, took 14 seconds to shoot. Jordan Peele described each one as wildly different. 14 takes, not 14 seconds. 14 takes.
Yeah, that's the master of Keke Palmer. And, you know, they always say that when you're doing multiple takes, you want to give something different every time.
Mm-hmm.
You want a different performance every time. So, you know, the editor's got some choices to choose from. So she clearly nailed it.
Despite being featured prominently, Fry's Electronics closed all of its locations on February 24th, 2021, prior to the film's production. The film, shot in the Burbank, California location, and recreated the interior.
I used to go to Fry's. There was one nearby. I didn't know they all closed, actually. So this trivia comes as a shock to me, and I'm sad that the Fry's I used to go to is now closed, evidently, and all of those great employees that were so friendly and helpful are displaced. Now I'm sad. What a bummer.
Listeners, you've heard it here. Mark has had a revelation about Fry's. I am sorry for your loss, Mark.
They closed 3 years ago. Gosh darn it. I guess I'm late to that party.
Stephen Yeun's character, Jupe, has a large pair of metal scissors on his desk, which are the same scissors prominently featured in Jordan Peele's previous film, Us.
Scissors. Oh my God. If I start talking about the scissors, I'm going to start talking about that movie, and I'm going to stop before I start. But listeners, if you haven't seen Us, I'm telling you now, watch it. All right, moving on. Jordan Peele cites King Kong, the 1933 King Kong, Jurassic Park, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Signs, and The Wizard of Oz as influences on the film. He considers these films as examples of addiction to spectacle, a major theme in the film.
Oh, I get Close Encounters vibes for sure.
I totally see the Signs vibe. That must be why I immediately thought M. Night Shyamalan when I started watching this movie.
Jordan Peele specifically chose the cowboy film Buck and the Preacher from 1972 to feature prominently. He's quoted as saying, "It is the first film that I know of that had black cowboys represented in it. The myth that cowboys were just white guys running around is just not true. But we didn't know that because Hollywood had romanticized the view of a very brutalized era. The film shares a similar spirit." So, no, I appreciate that too, because when I was a kid, I didn't know it either. And I would see occasionally like a black cowboy and be like, oh, did that actually happen? Like, really? And it did. So, cool.
And then lastly, this is the first horror, quote unquote, film to be filmed with IMAX cameras. I would argue this is not a horror film. I think it's a lot deeper and more sci-fi.
But that does make me regret not seeing it in the theaters.
Oh, me too. Oh
Same.
So
man.
thanks for making me feel sad now.
We're Mark had the revelation about fries. We are realizing that we missed out on a beautiful IMAX experience. Ah,
The lesson learned here, everybody go to the theaters and support films that you like or genres you like. That way we can still go to IMAX and watch these things on a large screen. It's
this is true.
important.
It really is. And support your filmmakers as well. You like their work, go and see what they're doing.
So I guess my final thoughts are similar to what I've been saying. I think it's an important film to watch. I don't know that, again, it's horror as much as it is a commentary on
Mhm.
culture. And I think it leans a lot more into sci-fi. As we spoke about earlier in the conversation, we think horror and we're like, oh, it's got to be Jason or Freddy, like stabbing people or something like
Yeah.
that. But Jordan Peele, amazing, and I've loved all of his films. I was curious, Matt, what you think, having seen his films, which really hit home for you the most out of Get Out, Us, and Nope.
Honestly, I think for me, the two that hit home the most are probably Get Out, especially since listeners right now, full disclosure, I live in Orange County. And, I'm pretty sure I've said it before, but Orange County is a very conservative city. I've had some bad experiences here over the last couple of years that haven't been so great. And it's right out of a horror film. So I'd say Get Out. And I will also say that I think this movie as well in terms of the exploitation of people, the exploitation of people of color. I think as I get older now, and as I get older, not only as a human being, but as an artist, I think I become more aware of the exploitation of people of color, of marginalized communities in Hollywood, and how there is that inner urge to revolt. So those are the two that definitely hit home. And I think I'll just tie this to my final thought. I think that we have to go see these movies. Listeners, I know some of the content that you heard today may have been uncomfortable to hear, may not be subject matter that you want to discuss, but it is through the dialogue that we unify. It is through the dialogue that we grow. So I encourage you to be okay with having these conversations, to not be afraid to start them. Movies like this are very important, and I think helping us to unify as a country and to unify as a species.
How many horses do you give out?
Oh yeah, horses. I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
I'll go to a 3 out of 5.
I think I'll do I hate to cut a horse in half, but I think I'm going to try a 4.5. Oh, no, I'm sorry, horsey. Just because of some of those pacing things. But otherwise, upon more thought, I think I like the movie a lot better the second time around than the first time. So
Yeah.
4.5 horses.
It's kind of interesting you say that. I think I like the film more now that we've discussed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I might add this to my list now of my horror film list, my Halloween list, rather.
Well, I watch a lot of older films. I grew up falling in love with cinema through watching older films from the golden era of Hollywood, like in the 50s and stuff, with James Dean and whatnot. And so I grew up watching the slower pace, the more I guess character driven pieces. And so it's rare that it happens nowadays that you see something like that. And that's why I was so appreciative, when we got to do Annihilation, because it's like, oh yeah, here's a film again where you're getting to know the characters. You're getting to exist in the space, and it's not all about spectacle, right? And it makes you think. It's thought-provoking. And here we have another one. So, fuck it. 5 horses.
Oh,
Wow.
Those are some happy horses.
I know, right?
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissy and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissy and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Trexperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev, a Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark, and Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Well, folks, next week we're going to be talking about Birth. It's a 2004 American drama film by Jonathan Glazer, starring Nicole Kidman, Lauren Bacall, Danny Huston, Anne Heche, and Carmen Bright. The film follows Anna, who becomes convinced that her dead husband, Sean, is reincarnated in a 10-year-old boy. Now, this was my pick, listeners, and I have to tell you, I saw the film, it had to have been 10 years or more ago, and only once, and it haunted me, and it's haunted me to this day. So this is going to be a revisit, and I have not seen it in a very long time, but I'm excited because I know that it is very creepy.
Do I need an adult to watch this with?
Maybe. Don't watch it with a 10-year-old boy. That's my
No,
suggestion.
I wouldn't. No.
Okay.
The look on Shalimar's face.
See, I would recommend you watch it with at least a 4-year-old.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
That is-
Oh
I don't know
man,
what it
I have
is.
no idea what to expect with this movie because I haven't seen it. So
Neither do I.
should I recruit some children or
Oh, geez.
what?
No, I'm definitely kidding there. It's
Okay.
Do not
Nicole
cuddle with
Kidman
them.
cry
Do
face.
not bathe with them. I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure that that's illegal.
On that note, we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also send your thoughts to @CinemaZPod on Twitter and BlueSky, and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on Twitter, BlueSky, and Instagram @BQN Podcasts.
So, Mark, where can people find you when you are not riding horses into the sunset?
Okay. Yeah. I like riding horses into the sunset on a nice beach, some waves, crashing waves, like a Harlequin romance novel cover. That's how I spend my weekends, really. So when I'm not doing that, you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group. You can also find me on All Good Things, is a Star Trek podcast. And you can find me on BlueSky Social, MW207. And Shalimar, where can people find you when you are not exploiting past trauma by setting up a museum about a chimpanzee that mutilated people?
I mean, how did you know that's how I spend my weekends? Well, you could find me on Instagram at Shalimar Luis or at one of my websites, shalimarluis.art or shalimarluis.com. So, Matt, where can people find you when you're not trying to get that Oprah shot?
You know, it takes a lot of hard work and patience to get that Oprah shot. Lots of lube. So, when I am not trying to get that Oprah shot, you can find me on Instagram by looking up at 1701BLERD. I have a web series. It's about a gay black nerd that uses Star Trek to cope with life. Third episode is dropping soon. And through there, you can also find my TikTok handle as well, where I also share clips and videos from that web series. And Laz, where can people find you when you are not making human sacrifices to your alien overlord?
Oh, so like every other night.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, of course.
like on a Tuesday.
It's such a joy. What I'm going to be doing right after this podcast. Listeners, you can find me at www.lazmarquez.com, or you can find me on all social media at Laz Marquez, LazMarquez.
So please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcasts with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producer, Amy Nelson. A special thanks to Mark White for our artwork each and every week. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
Yeah, if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We added to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you so much for listening.
We hope you'll tune in next time. No, Gordy! No! Gordy, no! Down, Gordy! No!
Yep. Cool.
And scene.
That was so perfect.
I had that planned for like the last 20 minutes. I was like, I'm gonna go ape shit.
Oh, shit. That was fun. That was
fun.
I didn't get to say this in the when we were recording, but I thought it was so cool that the alien was like at first it was like the typical saucer, and then it kind of like opened up into like this beautiful,
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Parachute.
rubber material.
Yeah, it was such a weird, interesting design for an alien. Like, think about that concept. A UFO that's not a UFO, it's actually an animal. And guess what? It opens up into this fractal parachute tentacle ribbon monster.
I mean, same last week though with Annihilation. It was this
Yeah.
colorful energy beam thing, but it was also duplicating itself, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say, oddly enough, all of our choices thus far with like spooky season have been
Yeah.
very like organically connected.
Haven't they
Yeah,
though?
they have.
Like, what is that about? I don't know.
You
Maybe
mentioned something earlier, Matt, that what was it that we were talking about, the connected annihilation with Nope, and it wasn't the pacing, there was something else. Oh, the sound, the scream. It was Mark and Laz, you were talking about that. The screaming
Scream,
coming
yeah.
from the bear, and then the scream sounds coming from the UFO
Yeah, yeah.
monster.
Insert beep QN butt plug. I mean plug.
Okay, well, we should discuss that as merch.
No.
My lord.
I'm telling
Assimilate
you.
your ass.
You never know. You never know. It could
Boys.
be merch.
No kink shaming, but no.
Have you guys done Everything Everywhere All at Once yet?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. That was the first one.
Shalimar.
That was a
Oh, wait,
missed
You
opportunity.
gotta re-listen.
I
That
gotta
was a missed
re-listen.
opportunity.
All
That would have
right.
been great.